This is Swarfcast. I'm Noah Graff. I am very honored to be with Edwin Nyuysever Mbinkar, the manager of the High Tech Center in Yaoundé, Cameroon. Welcome to the show, Edwin. Feel free to correct my pronunciation of your name if you'd like.
It's okay.
Very good. So today we're going to talk about the high-tech industry, manufacturing in Cameroon. I want to first give a little background to how this interview came to be. You know, our used machine tool business, Graff Pinkert, we get contacted from people all over the world looking for equipment. And Edwin contacted us 2 weeks ago looking for a 5-axis machining center. Usually if people contact us from Africa, it's somebody to go right in the spam folder. But I looked at his name and looked at what he was asking for, and it seemed like an actual legitimate inquiry for a machine, and I wanted to find out more, and it turned out he had a really interesting story. You're a professor?
Yes.
That he's a professor at a high-tech center, and he wanted a machine for students, and we do get that sometimes in the United States, and so I set out to find a machine for him, and then everybody I spoke with said, don't send a machine to Cameroon. Don't try to send a machine to Cameroon. You're just going to get in trouble with the U.S. government. And I said, I'm sorry, Edwin. You're going to have to go somewhere else to get a machine. However, I would love to do a podcast interview with you and get to know you. So he was gracious enough to allow me to get to know him and to do an interview. First, I just want to find out exactly what your organization is, what you guys do. I'm going to get a little background on you, and then I've got all kinds of questions about Cameroon and manufacturing there, and this is just a whole different world. I've been researching it a bit, and when I hear Cameroon or Africa in general, unless it's South Africa, I do not think of manufacturing. We did do an interview with somebody in South Africa, but I mean, that's like saying, I interviewed somebody in Mexico and saying, oh, it's like Canada. Yes, it's on the same continent, but, you have to watch yourself to really, stereotype every country is the same. So I'll stop talking now, and I want you to first tell us about your organization, and then I want to get a little background on you. So what is the High Tech Center that you are the manager for?
As the High Tech Center, we have here in the National Advanced School of Engineering of the University of Yaoundé 1, which is a state university. It belongs to the government. So this High Tech Center was inaugurated in 2012, and dealing with electrics, robotics, CNC mills, CNC lathes, mechatronics, SIM, computer integrated manufacturing, and so on. So this technology was proposed to us by the Israeli government.
That is so interesting. Yeah, I was reading about that.
And so the company called Intelitech, which is based in the US, they are the ones who manufacture all the equipment we have here. And through this equipment, since 2012 till 2019, we were able to master a lot of technology with the students. And the students began to make small projects. And then we realized at some point we have to be able to make prototypes. And that is why we went in for 3D printing. And our Israeli partners again helped us, and we were able to acquire about 13 printers from Stratasys. Have you heard about Stratasys?
Stratasys, you said?
Yes. They are real big industrial machines, modern machines, about the best in the world.
Wow.
And I can say the 3D printing facility we have, there is no other one in the whole of Africa like this, because the engineers who help us to install the machine, they came from South Africa.
Okay.
And they said there's nothing like this in South Africa.
Interesting.
And they doubt whether in North Africa, Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, whether they will have such a facility. So we started with the 3D printing facility, and we were making prototypes for our students and people, and making all kinds of devices, and only in plastic. Okay. We are making a lot of medical devices also. And then COVID came in 2020. That's when we got our first COVID case in March of 2020.
And it's one of the worst places for COVID in Africa, yes?
No. We are one of the least.
Oh, one of the least. Cameroon is one of the least affected in Africa.
We are one of the least affected.
Oh, I read somewhere that they were one of the worst. Maybe were you one of the first ones to be affected in Africa?
Yeah, we are, because in all, I think we got about 2,000 deaths.
That's all. Isn't that messed up that we're saying, oh, it's only 2,000 deaths? I know. Okay. All right. Back up.
So we had some good number of customers in Israel.
Yes. I want to know. So I'm Jewish. I know some about Israel. How does Israel get involved in Cameroon? What is the story behind that? And then we'll go back into other stuff.
Israel is a very good friend of Cameroon. We have very good diplomatic relations dating back to the foundation of Israel in 1967, and most Israeli past prime ministers have visited Cameroon.
So how did that, what is the origin of that? Did they do that as a defensive move against other less friendly countries?
Cameroon is a strategic country because it is located in the crossroad between Central and West Africa.
The crossroad between Central and West Africa?
Yes. And in West Africa, you have a giant country like Nigeria, which is bordering Cameroon. Mm-hmm. And the other side, we have the two Congos, the Democratic Republic of Congo, which is a vast country too, and the Republic of Congo, Central African Republic. Those are the countries bounding us. So Cameroon is like a point of access to these two sub-regions, and many businesses can pass along this line.
So Israel, once upon a time, said, oh, this seems like an interesting country to have a good relationship with. We're going to send diplomats over and get a relationship. Is that how it happened?
Yes.
Very interesting.
Yes, there are a lot of Israeli businesses in Cameroon, and they are progressing. And I have been to Israel in 2018 for about a month. I was in Jerusalem, and I was able to visit many sites in Galilee and all over Israel from Jerusalem.
Interesting. And you were working there?
No, I was invited by the Israeli government to participate in a program for the entrepreneurship in the education system.
Interesting. Okay.
Yes.
So for a long time, Israel has had a relationship. They've wanted to have a diplomatic relationship. And then I'm assuming for the diplomacy, they've invested a lot in the country.
Yes.
Okay. So they built this facility that you're the manager of, correct?
Yes, yes. They help us to identify the kind of material we need to use in training to get our students to be up to date, because most of the things we have here are the same things that are in Technion. You know Technion?
Technion?
Yes, Technion is in the north of Israel. What do they call it?
Haifa?
In Haifa. Technion is in Haifa. Yes. So that is one of the best colleges of engineering, and these are the same things we are using.
Interesting. That is so interesting. Okay.
You know, Technion has produced about 3 Nobel Prize winners.
Wow. And you have you have been partnering with Technion?
Yes, about 3 years ago, some of our students went to Technion to interact with their students and staff, and we are trying to have some exchange programs.
Interesting. Okay, so clearly they're trying to invest in Cameroon. Cameroon wants to invest in its own, technology, and as far as the country on the whole, Cameroon is a very natural resource-based economy, though, currently, right? Sort of
Yes.
What you would
stereotype.
You'd stereotype an African country as, agriculture.
Agriculture, a little bit of mining, petroleum, aluminum, forestry.
Yeah.
We export a lot of timber from the Congo Basin. We have one of the largest forest reserves in the world.
Wow.
The Congo Basin.
And you're cutting it all. You're cutting it all down.
Oh, they are cutting it, and the environmentalists are fighting to stop the cutting. That it should be controlled, so that one day we should not have an empty land where it used to be forest.
Yeah, but
But there are also a lot of regeneration programs, to try and plant more forests where they have cut trees.
But I'm assuming they're cutting down more trees. Are they cutting down more trees than they're regenerating?
Even if they are regenerating, these trees that they are cutting now, we don't know how many centuries they have been there.
Oh,
so
God.
If you plant now, do you think that means for it to be this size, you need to wait for 2 centuries, I think.
Yeah. No,
so they better slow down.
So, if you listen to our podcast or you read our blog, you'll see a lot of what everybody in the United States, the manufacturers, everybody's complaining. We don't have enough skills to fill our jobs. We have too many factories and they need jobs. But my assumption is that that's not the problem in Cameroon. Maybe it's sort of the opposite. Like, is it kind of like if we produce educated engineers, then industry will sprout up because you'll have talent? Is that the point of all the investment in your school? Or am I wrong? Are there jobs already there and they don't have enough people to fill them?
The jobs are very few.
Mm-hmm.
There are no jobs. There's a lot of unemployment here, I can tell you. But it doesn't suffice to train good engineers and technicians. We train a lot of them. We have one of the best training facilities here. But despite that, there are no jobs. So we need, for us to solve the problem of unemployment, there need to be investment. There need to be investment, especially in the manufacturing sector.
Yeah.
Because, but there's nobody to invest in that, So we can say in the whole of Cameroon, I don't think there's a 5-axis CNC machine.
Really?
So I was trying to bring the first one.
and I saw you went to a German dealer. I asked my German friend. He said it's a very big German dealer you went to. He said he thought it was okay. Are you going to bring this Haas machine from the German dealer to Cameroon? Is that going to happen?
I'm not sure we are going to get that particular machine, but we are going to get one, maybe through our cooperation with France. I think we are going to get one from France.
That would make sense.
Yes.
Okay, so you're talking about investment. So it sounds like there really isn't much private entrepreneurs investing too much in manufacturing, are there?
No, there are no investors in manufacturing. There are very few. Most of investors here are in agriculture, forestry, and just raw materials, transforming them. But transforming iron and steel is non-existent.
Interesting.
So there is only one company in Cameroon that can produce glass, and they produce mostly glass bottles for putting beer and other things. There are a number of companies that produce plastic containers and so on, but we don't do anything with iron. Everything about iron we import. And
the government wants to change this?
Yes, the government has laid down a plan for the country to become industrialized, maybe by the year 2035. But it will not be easy because they are not focusing in the right areas, even though recently we went into 3D printing. So because our main activity here, one of our main activities here is 3D printing.
Mm-hmm.
We were hoping that through our school, we can be able to get some youths who can come up with projects. They can sometimes they have projects, but there's no way to realize it because of manufacturing equipment.
Is it because of manufacturing equipment, or is it because it's very difficult for anybody to start a business, or it's probably both?
It is also difficult for somebody to start a business, and there's no equipment. It's difficult to start a business here because of capital. There's no incentive. Even if a guy comes out from high school and is very intelligent, has learned a lot of machine work, and even can design a kind of car or a kind of bicycle or something that they can use, he cannot realize it because nobody will give him money to try it.
It sounds like the only way that there is any developments is from foreign investment then.
Yes, that is what works for now.
So you have foreign investment from Israel, and then where's the other foreign investment come from? China, France?
There's France, China, Germany, United States, UK, and other countries,
Well, who is the most significant investor out of all those? My assumption is the United States, not so much, but I could be wrong.
The most serious is France, followed by China.
That's what I was thinking. So France, the reason is because you guys are a former French colony?
Yes, but Cameroon has a complicated history because Cameroon was divided into two, and part was governed by France and part by Britain.
Ugh.
So, we have a kind of small civil war in Cameroon, in the English-speaking part, because the English people speaking are minority.
Sounds like South Africa with the Afrikaans and the British. Everybody's just fighting over it.
Yes.
So what ended up happening then, after they were fighting?
So we have a lot of French people here, but we also there's also a lot of investment from the United States, especially in the mining sector.
Well, that would make sense because we're worried about the energy. And is there much oil in Cameroon?
Yes, there is oil. We export petroleum, and we also have a lot of natural gas. And we also still have a lot of fields that have not been exploited.
I like how you say that. They haven't been exploited yet. That is a good way of putting it. And China is big into investing in Africa, right?
Yes.
It's just another place for them to kind of put their hooks into.
What they do here now is mostly into infrastructure projects, building dams for generating electricity, building roads, railway, and so on.
And then what do they get in return for doing that?
They can export some things to them like timber and
timber. Okay.
And they are also going into mining. They have some mining licenses in Cameroon.
Mm-hmm.
So on.
Okay. Everything here is just so fascinating. We'll talk a little bit more about the technology. I was just doing a little research, and I came across something called Silicon Mountain. That's in Cameroon?
Yes.
Okay, tell us what that is.
It is a group of startups, by young people in a city called Buya.
But these are young people from Cameroon? Okay, so there are some people starting their own businesses in Cameroon.
Yes, young graduates from the university, they have studied engineering, and they start up, create their own startups, and they are running. The government is trying to assist them, and they are really doing marvelous.
So what are they doing in Silicon Mountain?
They write a lot of software coding, and they are also into some areas like robotics, making of drones, and so on.
And this is easier to do because they need less capital equipment.
Yes, they need less capital equipment.
Interesting. Well, that's clever then. It's a good way to have at least some private enterprise. The government in Cameroon, is it a dictatorship?
We'll say it's a kind of dictatorship.
There's been two presidents in the last 60 years?
Yes, since 1960, when there was independence. So the current president is in his 40th year.
40th year.
Yes.
So you guys don't believe in term limits, but are there free elections, or are they, free elections in quotation marks?
No, the elections we cannot say they are free. The thing is, the people are not yet courageous to fight. They don't want to be in war just to change their leader.
Yeah. Well, I can understand that because war is hell, and you guys have already had enough war. So it sounds like they'd rather just have a dictator and worry about other things rather than, tear the whole thing apart. Is that the case?
People worry more whether they are able to eat and whether they are able to eat and so on. When they are able to eat, the government can do what they like. They know it will go someday.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of, human rights issues, and, I was reading about, look, I mean, it's different standards, different places in the world. Is there good freedom of speech in Cameroon? Are you guys allowed to say pretty much whatever you want?
Yes, there is freedom of speech, but it's somehow limited because it is only limited to people. You are not free to talk about the president anyhow.
Okay. But we're not getting you in trouble by you saying that.
No problem. There's no problem.
What about I was looking at statistics. It's a very literate country, correct? It's like 80% literacy for men and 70s for women.
Yes, it's very literate country.
Interesting. And why do you think that is? It's just they've put a lot of emphasis on schools.
Yes, it's because many people want to get good jobs, and they go to school. They hope to get a good job after they leave school.
Yeah.
So all the people will sell their crops and use the money to send their children to school.
And then are the jobs there after they get their fancy degrees in school?
The jobs are not there. That's the unfortunate thing. So something needs to happen for the jobs to be there. And if there is no manufacturing, I don't see jobs being available, because manufacturing brings about so many things, management, everything.
Do you think that the government wants manufacturing because it's good for the economy, but is it also that, do you think the government, and if you can't say this, you don't have to, but does the government do they like the natural resource-based economy because then it's easier to exploit people?
No. I think they want the country to be developed, and they want the country to be in manufacturing. The only thing, they don't know how to get there. They don't know what to do to get there.
It's a difficult equation. What about women? Are there many women that are engineers or in your school, for instance?
Yes. There are. The population can be, say, 30%.
30%?
Women, yes.
Okay. So, let's talk a little bit more about what you guys are doing at the school and how that is relating to the development of the economy. So it sounds like you're putting a lot of emphasis on 3D printing.
Yes, not the school. The school is a school of engineering, and we have different departments. We have the Department of Civil Engineering. We have a department for computer engineering, another one for mechanical and industrial engineering. Then we have electrical engineering and telecommunications. We have meteorology, and we have other programs that we run. So it's just I'm in charge of the 3D printing center. So my emphasis on it is just because it's what I do every day.
Mm-hmm. And give me let's go backward. Give me a little bit of background on you. So you grew up in Cameroon, and you've done things various places in the world before you came back to be an academic.
Yes, I went to Nigeria. I did most of my university studies in Nigeria.
And is that was the typical path for if you wanted to get higher education, at least in engineering?
Yes, at least in the area of technology. If I wanted to be an electrical engineer from the English-speaking part of Cameroon, that was the best part for me to follow.
Okay. You're trying to change that with your school, trying to keep people from going to Nigeria and going elsewhere?
Yes, nowadays they don't go to Nigeria as much as before.
because you have your own resource.
Yes, because we have many engineering schools now. The time I went to university in 1992, 93, there was only one engineering school in Cameroon, but now we can have about 5 engineering schools that belong to the government and maybe 100 private engineering schools.
100 private engineering schools. What is more prestigious, to go to a private school or a public school? And what's better?
To go to the private, you need to pay more money. In the government will subsidize your education. You pay little or nothing for fees. Mm-hmm. So, but government places their own qualification got from the government universities. They place it higher, but not that the content may really be higher. The private people, they specialize in the kind of training where young people can easily get jobs after they finish from the
Oh, okay. So somebody from your university who gets an engineering degree, you say that the jobs aren't there. What is typical? Do they end up leaving the country?
Yes, many of them end up leaving the country. Some stay around and maybe at the end they may have some foreign companies to work with, or work with like telecoms, electricity companies, and so on. The rest may get into one business or the other.
So you went to Nigeria, and then after Nigeria, where did you go for your own path?
I came back to Cameroon.
And you worked for various you worked for various companies in Cameroon?
Yes, I first worked for Cadel Construction, and we are building the United States Embassy in Yaoundé. I was the office engineer. I was the one helping the Americans who were there in terms of anything engineering in the office, making field measurements and recording the progress of work, quality control, and so on.
Mm-hmm. And so most of the jobs there for these engineers, it's either, if they don't leave, it's going to be from foreign countries like France, China.
Yes, you'll be from
Israel.
Foreign companies. Yes, so that if they want to earn a good income. So right now I'm working for the government, but I also have my own company.
Oh, okay. What's your own company?
I do supply. I do designs. Recently, I got a contract to supply molds, plastic molds and one glass mold. So I do the design and I manufacture the molds in China.
Okay. The molds for what?
For making bottles, like, can you see my water bottle?
Okay.
But although this one is not the true mold, this is true thermoforming. But the molds for chocolate container, chocolate paste, juice, vegetables, and so on. So so I can do the design in my company, and I can order for things around and supply either to the government or to private.
So my guess is there was a lot of bureaucracy and red tape in order to get your own business.
Yes, there's a lot of bureaucracy, but when you are here for some time, you will know how to find your way.
Yeah. You don't have the 5-axis machining center yet. You're still looking for it. And when you get this 5-axis, what do you guys plan on making with it?
We plan to have it here in the school, and we can do a few things like making of this kind of molds
Mm-hmm.
that I talked about. You understand? I can make it the molds on that machine, and we can other project ideas will come up. I know that a 5-axis machine has limitless possibilities.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So the government's stated goal is for Cameroon to be industrialized by
By
2035.
2035, yes.
And what do you think of this goal? Is it crazy? Is it I mean it's I mean number one, it's hard to decide what that means being industrialized, but what do you think? What do you think about the future of manufacturing in the country and the country changing from a natural resource based thing? Is it going to need change in the government to do that or not necessarily?
Yes, yeah. Many people believe that what is dragging the country behind is because we have old-styled leadership, and being in power for several decades. Right from the before we started to use computers until now we are Android. We still have the same president, so their ideas, they should have run out of ideas, and we hope that if there is
So you're saying
a
he's an
new
old fart that
leadership,
doesn't know new stuff.
of course.
And when you don't have to learn because you're automatically just stay in power, then
So we are hoping that if there's a change of leadership, there will be change in many things and a change in way of doing things.
Interesting.
Because we are seeing examples in many countries. You look at a country like Rwanda, that has changed. Rwanda.
Okay, so tell me about Rwanda. How is that? I know nothing about it. I mean, all I hear is the Hotel Rwanda.
There was a genocide. There was a genocide in Rwanda from 1991 to 1992 to 94, and more than a million people were killed, and it was very painful. But they came out of this, and one of the I think they are the fastest growing economy in Africa right now.
Rwanda. And how does Cameroon rank as far as fastest growing economies?
No. Cameroon is unclassified.
Okay.
And what I can say about Cameroon is that in around 2010, Cameroon was qualified as a heavily indebted poor country.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's interesting because, it sounds like, that obviously that's true, but then you have the Silicon Mountain and you have what you guys are doing and Israel's investment. And so it sounds like there's certain interesting resources you have.
Oh, yes. There are definitely some things here that we don't see with our eyes, because we see a lot of foreign people scrambling to be in Cameroon. You see the United States even have their largest embassy in the whole sub-region is in Cameroon, and other countries, they are controlled through Cameroon.
Do you feel like these countries that are investing in Cameroon, are they more out for themselves to exploit Cameroon? Who's getting the better end of this? Cameroon or those people? When people say it's a win-win, I'm always skeptical.
Yes, you are right. I can say that the big ones like France and China, you understand, I can say they are exploiting Cameroon. But the other ones, you can say it
like
is
Israel,
a win-win.
the
like Germans, Israel, US, Great Britain, and so on.
Interesting. But of course, China and France are the ones that have invested the most.
Yes, but they are the ones who are exploiting
Yeah.
the most.
Well, so it sounds like you're
Uh,
optimistic, somewhat optimistic, but you're also a little bit skeptical of this 2035.
yes, we are optimistic, but we don't see us getting there because of we don't have the means to get there. The will is there, but the means is not there.
So, what would you predict is something more realistic, or what do you think? How do you predict the country will be in, I don't know, 10 years?
If leadership remains like this, it will not be very different from
Hmm.
what it is now. Nothing will
That
change.
sucks.
But if leadership changes, we can even move faster than anybody would expect.
Assuming the leadership that changes is good, because that's always the problem.
Yes, if the leadership is good, I believe that within 10 years, we'll be having very good roads to everywhere. Not yes, and the security of the people will be guaranteed. We still have a lot of highway robbery, armed robbery, those kind of things. Some of them people blame it on poverty, and generally the level of poverty will reduce significantly. You know that people are poor when they don't have access to potable drinking water, when they cannot eat at least 2 meals in a day.
And that's the average. That's the average people in the country.
Yes, yes.
Hmm.
But you see, if I look at myself, um, I've not come from a rich background. I've come from
Oh,
peasant
from
parents
peasant
who have
parents.
sold coffee. I came from peasant parents who have sold coffee and other crops and sent all of us to school. And today, I think I have two sisters and one brother in the US who are US citizens.
Interesting.
So, and of course, I have been to Nigeria, I've come back, and I'm here, and I have a PhD in engineering, and I do teach in a few other countries. I go to Nigeria, I teach there, and I also teach in
Burkina
Burkina
Faso.
Faso. So you see, I did not need to come from a rich family to achieve this. So, Cameroon is, the people just need a little push and they will do so much. But that little push is not there. Because coming from the kind of background I came from, nobody can predict that I will have the means to study up to a PhD and teach in the
But
university.
you happen to be super smart. So what happens if somebody comes from your background and they're not super smart? Then, they don't have a lot of mobility, I guess.
Yes. Especially they are discouraged. But one thing is that people in Cameroon, especially in the English-speaking side, they believe in education. They believe in sending their children to school. And no matter, they know if a child goes to school, it has the right education. Something will happen, the child must succeed in
And then
life.
in the French part, people are less educated.
They don't have the same quest as we do.
Interesting. What percentage of the people in Cameroon are super poor, like don't have enough to eat?
It will be really very low. because most people are really hardworking. Those who are poor, we can say they are poor, they must have access to some land where they can do farming by themselves, and they will get food to eat. So many people believe that if we don't have a big civil war today in Cameroon to remove the government that is in place, is because everybody can afford a plate of food. The day there will be no food means the war will
so
start.
people are just sort of content with having a little.
Yeah.
So do you think a lot of people don't even think change is possible?
There is we are just hoping that the change will come sooner than later.
Well, this has been fantastic. When you hear the word happiness, what does it make you think of? What's the first thing that comes to mind when you hear happiness?
Happiness means not being hungry, and not needing so much that you cannot afford.
Well, I thank you so much. This was so much fun, so interesting. I learned a ton.
Yeah. Do you want us to talk anytime in the future? You just let me know.
I will.